Hi everyone, welcome to LearnCity. On today's episode of Classroom Management, we'll be talking about different things on that classroom management. And first, we'd like to define what a classroom is. We'll break it into two. Yes, a class, a room. We'd want to know what exactly comes up or what exactly brings together the word or the phrase classroom management. Now let's start with a class is, well, a group of people coming together to learn a common subject or topic under the guidance of an instructor is called a class. Now let me take that slowly. When we're talking about a class, when people come together to learn a common subject or a topic under the guidance of an instructor. Now remember, there have to be someone who is watching or who is explaining or standing in front of the student or the pupil. Yes, and that is when it is called a class. Now the people who are taking the instructions are called students or pupil. The people who are taking the instructions are called students or pupil. And the place where the instruction takes place is called the classroom. Now, look at it this way. There is a class, and this is people coming together with a guidance of an instructor. And the people who are taking the instructions are called students or pupil. And the place where the instruction takes place is called a classroom. Now with that, we've been able to understand and be able to know what a classroom is. And it will lead us to the definition of classroom management. Now, a classroom management simply means ensuring positive learning environment. It's very simple. Now, for you to manage a classroom rather, you have to make sure that the environment in which the students are learning is a positive environment and the teaching taking place is smooth and successful. Now, for a classroom management, like I said earlier, means ensuring positive learning environment so that teaching takes place smoothly and successfully. Now we have reasons for classroom management. You're wondering, classroom management, an instructor should just step into the class and talk to the student and it should just go that way. Yeah, but then there's a reason to ensure classroom management basically. Now the first point is that students have some new takeaway from each class. Now you have to take something new out of the class. For a successful classroom management, for you to say, okay, yes, this instructor has been able to successfully manage the class, the student should be able to take new things from the class. Another thing you should know, or another thing you should know is necessary for a classroom management is that there is no disruption in the class. Now, for a class to be successfully managed, you will notice that the students are not disrupting the instructor, like they are paying full attention in the class. So another thing we should know, or why we need classroom management, is that all learning outcomes of the students are to be met. Now, when you set the objectives in class, like this is what you want to do, this is the reason why I am taking this class, this is why my instructor is in class. Now, the reason for the class management is that all these are met. Now, to manage a classroom, you have to make or create a classroom management plan of your own. And in this plan, the plan should include classroom rules that must be followed. You should set rules for your class. Now, you know that when a student is supposed to ask question, he or she should raise his hands or raise her hands basically. Now, you don't just expect that student should stand up and say, I'm supposed to ask this question and then start talking. Now, you get distorted basically in class and you begin to try to pick up from where you left. But the moment the student raises his or her hand, you are able to give a pause for a moment for the student to ask his or her question, answer the question, then you continue from where you stop. So you lay down your classroom rules and those classroom rules must be followed. Another thing you should include in your classroom management plans is what should be the warning of each act of indiscipline. Now, if a student is making noise, what will you punish? What will be the punishment for the student? If a student is making noise, what are you going to ask the student to do? Are you going to ask the student to stand or leave your class or ask a student a question? What should be the warning of the act of indiscipline? Another thing you should include in your classroom management plan is the step to be taken if the warning bears no fruit. Now, by the time you warn the students, like, don't make noise again in my class, or when you want to ask a question, raise your hand, and the student doesn't adhere to all those rules and regulations, what should be the steps you should take when the warning bears no fruit? Now we'll move to the advantages of classroom management. Now you should know that teaching is 60% knowledge and 40% class management. For you to have a successful impact of knowledge on your students, yes, you have to teach them well, but another thing you should include is class management. Now the first thing is you will complete your syllabus in time. When you are able to organize your class, when your students are able to follow through your rules and regulations, you'll notice that you move faster in the syllabus. Now we say first week of the class, we want to go through the old definition, classroom management, needs for classroom management, advantages of classroom management. That 1 week, you are able to complete the whole of that. And why are you able to do that? Because your class management is on the eyesight. Now, another advantage of classroom management is you'll be able to inculcate discipline in the students. Another advantage is that you'll be able to inculcate discipline in the students. You're able to tell your students, okay, you are not supposed to do this when an instructor is standing in front of you. You are not supposed to do this when I am giving an explanation. When you want to talk, raise your hand. When you want to pass an information, or maybe another student is disturbing you, this is how you are supposed to do it. Now you'll be able to inculcate discipline. Now discipline does not just come from the home or from the society at large, also from the classroom, which is why classroom management is important in teaching. Now, another thing you should know, or another merit of classroom management, is that students will learn positive classroom manners. Now, you're wondering, positive classroom manners, how does that even make sense at all? Well, let me break it down for you. So, classroom manners, I mean, you are stepping into a classroom. Remember what we said the classroom is, yeah? Very good. So, yes, you're stepping into a classroom and you are able to follow the rules and regulation of the classroom. You understand what your instructor is saying. You ask questions. There's a follow-up of assignments. You know what you're supposed to do in the class. I mean, basically, the do's and don'ts of a classroom. Now, the students will be able to learn the classroom manners. Another thing is that you have a better relationship with your students. Now, when your student does something wrong, for you to have a good relationship, you don't say, get out of my class, I don't want to see your face in my class again. Or, get out, don't do this, or stay outside, close the window, you should not listen. No, you don't do that. You are able to talk, communicate with your students. Now, the student does not go home and say, when his parents or our parents basically ask, what did you learn in school today? What did you learn in class today? And not able to say anything because half of the class year it was disturbing, then the remaining half where you ought to have corrected the student, you sent the student out of the class. So at the end of the day, it's not your loss, it's the student loss. But at the same time, how do you feel? How do you get the maximum satisfaction that you've been able to impact knowledge and also be able to manage your class? Now, for you to have a good classroom management, you have to have a better relationship with your students. Now, we'll look at, well, they say there are always two sides of a coin, but on this particular one, it's not really, I won't call it a disadvantage because we can make it how will I put it now? You can turn the disadvantage into an advantage. But how are you supposed to do it? Let's look at what the disadvantage is about here. So a classroom management principles provide a very structured learning environment, which ensures that all learning goals are achieved. Now, when you have a classroom management, it ensures that every of your learning goals, your objectives, every single thing is achieved. But that also leaves a very little scope for open discussions. Now, it is all set, like this is how you want to do all your teachings. But at the same time, there'll be little space for the students to discuss, to say how they feel or what they know about the particular topic or particular subject that you are discussing or you are instructing them about. Now, it has been proved beyond doubt that open discussions encourage creative and lateral thinking in students. Now, when students get to talk, you ask them for their opinion basically on, okay, fine, we are talking about animal science today. What do you understand by animal science? Now, you don't just pour down everything you know to the students. Allow the students talk. Allow them have an open discussion. You could break the class into sections and say, okay, group 1, group 2, group 3, then ask them to come out to have a debate or say what they feel and make a presentation basically on what they understand about animal science. Now, at the same time, you want to feel like, I won't be able to cover up my syllabus with all of this. Well, it's simple. You could just dedicate 5 minutes of your class. Allocate 5 minutes. If your class is supposed to be for 40 minutes, allocate 5 to 10 minutes of your class for open discussion. Allow the students say how they feel. Allow them say what they understand by what you are teaching them or what you've taught them. So that you'll be able to gauge if you've really delivered or if you would have to take that particular topic again. Now, you can turn this disadvantage, like I said earlier, of structured learning on its head by pacing the classes. Just like I said, divide classes into sections, into groups. Allow them talk, allow them brainstorm themselves, then come out, make presentation, and you will see if really you've delivered what you are supposed to do. Now, we're going to move to levels of classrooms. You definitely know that you're not going to jump from your mother's home to university or to high school. It all comes in steps and levels. Now, depending on the average age of students, you know that classrooms can be divided into these categories. Now, the first one is pre-primary, which is from 4 to 6 years. But some people have fast education and they could start by 3. For me, I think I started when I was half month, and I was just kidding on that. Now, moving to the next category, the primary, you have from 6 to 11 years. Step down to the middle school, which you have from 11 to 14 years. And then you have the high school, 14 to 18 years. Now, let's go back. There are 4 categories depending on the average age of student in which a classroom can be divided into. I started with the pre-primary, which is the 4 to 6 years, down next to the primary, which is 6 to 11 years, then the middle school, 11 to 14 years, then the high school, 14 to 18 years.